like to call the meeting to order. If you would stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everyone, and welcome everyone who's watching from home. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVore.
Present.
Trustee Gett.
Present.
Trustee Kazam.
Present.
Trustee Goff.
Present.
Trustee Wigginton.
Present.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Present.
Okay, good to see everyone. We have a quorum. We would be at item 4, approval of the minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting on November 1st, 2022. I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions on the minutes or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk, is there any correspondence?
Yes, I have 2 letters here. The first one reads, Dear Mr. Mayor, thank you so very much for sending me the helping hand I had asked for. He was certainly an example of the Heights community. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, Miss Carlene Casebeer. And then the second one reads as follows, Dear Mayor Phelan and Trustees, thank you so very much for allowing the Peoria Humane Society to host our Bark in the Park event in your beautiful Tower Park. Everyone we worked with was very kind, helpful, and enthusiastic. I had many compliments from attendees about being in Peoria Heights. We are looking forward to next year's event and the hospitality of your businesses. Gratefully, Lisa, President of PHS.
All right, is that all?
That's all.
Okay. Next, we have a proclamation honoring Dan Callahan. I see Dan just walked in. So Dan is a longtime member of the Heights business community and contributed a whole lot to the community over the years and chose to retire and sold his property. So we prepared this proclamation, excuse me. Whereas Dan Callahan owned and operated the landmark Greg Flores shop in Peoria Heights for nearly 45 years, whereas no one who entered Dan Callahan's corner flower store was ever a stranger. Whereas Dan Callahan got to know his customers so well over the years that many just trusted him to do your thing in conveying just the right emotion for the moment, joy, sorrow, the things that are just part of everyday life. Whereas Dan Callahan dispensed more than just blooms, including equal amounts of compassion and counsel, and sometimes just an attentive and sympathetic ear to those often in need of all the above. Whereas Dan Callahan surmounted every challenge over the years, from the closure of the Pabst plant in the Heights not long after he opened his doors to COVID, serving as a role model of business resilience. Whereas Dan Callahan is an eternal optimist who never stopped believing in his business or in Peoria Heights in which it was located. Whereas Dan is gracefully, as always, retiring from business, but thankfully not stepping away from the community service which he's long been noted. We, the people of Peoria Heights and the Village Board, hereby declare Dan Callahan a village treasure whose fundamental kindness and personal touch others would do well to emulate, while wishing him nothing but the very best. No one deserves this chance to relax and smell the roses more than Dan. Thank you.
Wow. Oh, that's quite an earful, and very much appreciate it. I've been going through my employee files and getting things cleaned up, and as I reflect back on that, man, there's been a lot of people behind what was Greg's, and multiple generations in some families and in some sections. So anyway, it's been great to have a business in the Heights as a place to have come to maturity, and the importance of everyone in the community being connected. This is a very special place, and this sure shows it. Thank you.
Okay, we would be at comments from the audience. If anyone would like to address the board, please come forward to the podium, give your name and address, and try and keep your remarks under 5 minutes. Public comments going once, twice. Public comments are closed. We'd be at old business. Any old business come for the board? Hearing none, we'll get right into new business. We have 2 pieces of business under new business. The first is denial of a site plan application filed by KDB Group, LLC, seeking approval of a site plan for the development of office space for the property located at 4615 North Prospect Road, which property is currently zoned B1. I wrote and put this on the agenda and described it this way because this was the motion that was deferred, but Trustee Kazam, at this time, I'll either accept a motion to approve or deny.
So I make a motion to approve the site plan as it was presented to zoning originally.
And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Trustee Kazam.
Well, as we know, there was a lot of discussion around this item in the last meeting. At the end of the comments, we decided to table this issue until this meeting. I have to say, I'm really happy with that decision because it gave us the opportunity the last 13 days to come to the table with KDB Group and Mr. Birkeland, and I couldn't be more thankful to them for doing that and having a conversation with the village. I think that we've had a lot of fruitful conversations and are really excited about the potential sale of the property behind the 2 buildings that are up for approval this evening, and so we're looking forward to working with you as things progress. Thank you very much.
So I want to thank Trustee DeVore and Trustee Kazam for their additional work on this, and Greg Birkeland with the KDB Group. Things are always about the art of compromise, and I think everyone wins in this way, so my compliments to all of you. We'll take a few quick comments, but I think we discussed it at length at the previous meeting. All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll if you're ready for the question, board.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Goff?
Aye.
Trustee Wigginton?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously. Congratulations and thank you, Greg. Next is approval of amendment to professional services agreement with Good Energy. Trustee DeVore, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the amendment to the professional services agreement with Good Energy.
Thank you. In a second.
Second.
All right, go ahead, Trustee DeVore.
I'm actually going to let council set us up for this. This, I believe, is an annual thing we have to do, but he's going to give us the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, complicated agreement, but this is a municipal electrical aggregation contract. We hired Good Energy as our consultant. And when I say our, I mean like how many, 38 communities, including Peoria. And what we do is pool all of our customer power, all the consumer power behind all of the municipal residents in 38 communities to broker our own deal for electric energy once the legislature had opened that up about 10 years ago. This is really just a renewal of that contract. Good Energy gets paid out of the billing that is negotiated with the electricity supplier. So it's not something the village pays. They just tack on 1/10 of 1 cent for every kilowatt hour, and that's how they get paid. But they need each community in that group to approve and renew their agreement as our consultant, and that's what this is all about. We entered the original agreement, I think, 10 years ago.
Questions?
Yeah, I thought they failed to come to an agreement this time around.
They did last year, but actually the meeting's set up for tomorrow with all the communities. But last year, the bids withdrew the bid, so there was nothing. That's why everybody was.
The market, I think, was so turbulent last year at this time that.
That's why I went to the default, which was the company we
They only
currently
get paid
use.
if they negotiate a contract with all the communities sign off on.
Okay.
So you'll probably be hearing about municipal electrical aggregation again soon. If they're able to successfully negotiate a contract, they can recommend to the communities.
Okay, and then would we approve that new contract or that new rate?
My understanding is we have to approve it, all the communities have to approve it.
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty.
But this is like a real estate agent, you gotta hire the agent before you negotiate the contract.
Okay.
Anyone else?
And is this, Mark, is your understanding that this .001 per kilowatt hour is the same rate that it's been negotiated since September of 2011?
I tried to figure out what our prior rate was, and I can't find any record of it.
I don't think it's that low. I mean, it's lower than it was last year, obviously, but it's not as low as going back that far.
Okay.
And that's just because what the market is.
And that makes sense. I think the rate was higher when this was new, because the firms didn't know what they were getting into, and how, there was a lot of work up front. Now that it's in the more or less renewal phase, they don't need to reinvent the wheel. But that's a relatively low price to pay. I think the rate that I saw, what was our last rate, was like 47 cents a kilowatt hour, and you're talking about tacking on 1/10 of a cent, so it's about 1.5%, maybe 2% that goes to the broker. So,
And Mark, it's my understanding that an individual consumer can opt out of this, in which case this .001 per kilowatt hour would not be assessed on that individual?
correct. And then they would be at the whatever the market rate is that Ameren would charge, correct?
Or whatever they could find.
Or what they could find. And there are other groups, pool residents that have opted out. So there are other alternatives. Nobody is forced.
Great.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Gatt?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Goff?
Aye.
Trustee Wigginton?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
All right, that passes. We would be at miscellaneous business. Any miscellaneous business or any committee chairs want to report on anything? Go right ahead.
I have something today. So I had Sarah print us all the ordinance for our current overlay district, so that everyone would have a chance to kind of review that. I know Beth and I were on the zoning board when that was put into place, but I don't know if everybody knows kind of where that stands. I think when we're coming to all this development coming forward, there's a lot of conversations going on about different things, like each trustee and the zoning board all have wants to be met, but I feel like it's very not organized when it comes to the developer side of things. So when we put this overlay district into play, there was talk that we would make a form-based code sheet to go on after that. So I think we were moving hot and heavy on that. We went through and did our comprehensive plan, and then COVID hit, so everything just stopped. But I think if development is gonna continue to move forward, we are gonna have to do that form-based code or look at some of our zoning or whatever we're gonna do to make it easier, so there's a little less conflict when it comes to developers coming forward to wanna do things. I know the zoning board has a lot of requests for landscaping. We have some of our requests. So I think if we came up with things that maybe this board really wanted to see, when we go to the zoning board and say, hey, we want you to work on this form-based code or looking at our zoning, our ordinances as a whole, they have an idea of what we're wanting first. And maybe this is something that Beth should lead, but her and I have kind of talked about it a lot. So I would like us to formulate some ideas of things that we want or talk about if we would want to move forward with working on form-based code and things like that.
And this would be something that we would hire a consultant to help.
Yes.
We're not going to have to write this all ourselves. This would be an expense.
It would be expensive. It would be something we would hire Housel Levy for, or things like someone like that if we didn't choose to go with them. But they've done good work for us in the past. But that was the next step that we never followed through with. And I think a lot of things changed on the zoning board. COVID happened, a lot of things didn't get finished, but I think it would be beneficial for us to consider this moving forward. I agree.
I think that's a good idea. And Tri-County Planning might be able to help in this, at least find firms that could do the work, but they may have planners that are available in the upcoming year, and I don't know how detailed and how much time it would be. They're probably going to be as good as anyone and maybe cheaper, but I would suggest you get comments from all the board and that you and Trustee Kazam would sit down maybe with Chairman Pitzel and take it from there and maybe figure out the next steps and report back to us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to get kind of everybody's feedback on it, some things you want, how you feel about paying for it, but I do think that it would streamline the development process for us and for the developer, right? It's a win-win for all, instead of us kind of being like, is that in the code, is it not in the code? I just think it's kind of unclear.
Anyone have any comments?
I would request before going to any of our previous providers that we put that up to bid or find a,
Sure.
I think work in the past has been great, but there's, always room for some improvement. So just see if there's other people that could be willing to do that stuff too.
Sure.
Mr. Alder, do you have any input?
Certainly. I've been involved in a few form-based codes in Bloomington Normal area, and I think it's a good call. In this case, a lot of public comment would be involved, certainly. And I also agree with RFP or something to find a planning group that would assist us with that.
Okay, I think we all understand, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. Any other miscellaneous?
Just a couple of things from the Public Safety Department. So from the police side, I'll start there. I had a staff meeting with Chief Sutton this week, and we were talking a little bit, got on the subject of the landlord registration program here that the Heights Police operate, Shane Murphy as well. I know I want to personally commend the work that they do, just learning some of the things that that the chief was illuminating for me about. It seems like they continually do good work for our residents as well as our renters here in the Heights. So they kind of go unnoticed and kind of under the radar, but I definitely think some of the work that they're doing is very valuable to us as a community. So I appreciate that, Chief. A couple of things. Union negotiations are coming up this year for the department. That's in its early stages, but that's on its way, and more to come on that hopefully soon. You may know notice some of our officers around town, and me in solidarity are participating in No Shave November. That is going to be benefiting the Peoria Heights Food Pantry this month, and then maybe something else for next month. So that's all from the police side, unless I miss anything, Chief.
That's it. Thanks, man.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
And then on the fire department, I know the fire department has been very busy and active and responsive to some of the fires that have been around. And Chief, do you want to add anything that you can to any issues?
I don't have any issues, but the department had three really large fires in the last month that have been significant for the department. I want to thank Public Works last night. That was the work they did to help us out there was immense at the fire last night. The police department did a marvelous job helping me out with the investigation side of it. Can't thank everybody enough that was there last night to help us out.
Well, thank you, Chief, for responsiveness. And that's it for me, Mayor.
I think the fire department needs to take some credit for last night too, though. I was there watching it. I think you guys did an amazing job. You had the fire completely under control. A lot of people showed up. I was actually able to watch it from afar, and your leadership skills were amazing. So I think that you guys deserve a pat on the back for what you did too.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we'd be at item 11, payment of the bills. I'd ask for a motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
Motion to pay the bills?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion or any question on any of the bills? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Goff?
Aye.
Trustee Wigginton?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
All right, the bills are paid. That passes. Madam Clerk, the treasurer's report.
As of the end of October, in the village-controlled account, there was $7,127,160.26. In the water-controlled account, there was $1,948,929.49.
You've heard the treasurer's report. I would ask for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the report. Are there any questions on the report or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Gett?
Aye.
Trustee Kazam?
Aye.
Trustee Goff?
Aye.
Trustee Wigginton?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
All right, that passes. The report is approved. Trustee Gett,
Make a motion to adjourn.
is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? We're adjourned.